welcome to Conflicts of Interest, where we take a look at all the conflicts that are going on throughout the world of today. So first of all, taking a look at Ukraine out here, we can see that there is a map update, which is just saying that there's a frontline clarification, of which I looked all throughout the front line, and honestly, I couldn't find any movement at all, or at least any movement that was perceptible. So other than that, I really want to talk about this here coming out of Voice of America. Number one, what they're saying here is that talking about the drone attacks that went on in Kyiv and also the ones that went over Moscow as well. And what was really interesting here that they were saying was it looks like tonight we heard the overture, the prelude to the winter season. So what they're saying here and what I've decently expected is that what we're probably going to see in the next few months are more Russian drone attacks all throughout Kyiv, trying to take out their infrastructure, trying to, put the pressure on them, trying to, just knock out their heating infrastructure. As we know, of course, in this area it gets really cold, especially during the winter. It's going to put a lot of pressure on civilians. So, also talking about Russian morale out here, there's no dying to the death of the brave here. You just die like an earthworm, is what they're reporting as a Russian soldier saying, talking about, just the war. And it's something that I've pretty much expected as well, as we talked about a bit as well, too, is just Russian morale being constantly questioned, and also just in terms of morale as a whole between Ukraine and also Russia. So just touching on this, I've also seen a couple clips, at least one clip of a Russian soldier capturing a Ukrainian soldier while he was wounded. So it seems that these guys are getting both sides are getting really tired of this war, and Ukraine doesn't know if they're going to get Western aid, and if they don't, that's going to put a lot of pressure on them. And of course, this was supposed to be a 3-day operation for Russia, and now it's going to be 2 years in about 3 months. So, just touching on that, it's neither side I don't think wants to just fight out here any longer. So, and as we've heard a bit as well, is that Russia is going to try, and Putin, especially at the G20 meeting we saw earlier a few days ago, that Russia is apparently looking for an agreement to come to, but what will that amount to? We don't really know. But I got an interesting clip here to show you. So we got a clip here coming out of Chelyabinsk, which is a city that is quite far from Ukraine, and we can see here that this is a tractor factory, and right here we can see that, as Russia would probably say, someone was smoking out there. But in terms of what this is, it's being reported as a factory for tractors, but in actuality it is a factory for military usage. So, we're probably going to see more targetings like this as this sort of drone warfare goes on, as we just talked about. But this isn't necessarily too uncommon for Ukraine to do, although it is pretty far if it was something that they would target. Either it might be perhaps some partisan warfare or deep behind enemy lines operations, or it very well be a drone targeting this area. But it's interesting to see this kind of action far away from Ukraine and very deep within Russia. So, anyways, let's talk about Israel. All right, now talking about the Israeli conflict out here really quick. Of course, we aren't seeing any movement in terms of Israeli troops in the Gaza Strip, considering that there's the ceasefire that's going on right now, and of course we see hostage exchanges going on in the Gaza Strip, as well as prisoner releases in the West Bank as well. And we also see a little bit of clashing going on out here, as well as some action going on in northern Israel between the IDF and Hezbollah. But other than that, it's, of course, if you've been following this conflict at all, this is, the quietest it's pretty much been since the ceasefire had started, since, there was, like, I believe, a few good hours, half a day, maybe a little bit more of no action going on throughout Israel at all. So, anyways, other than that, I haven't really seen too much coming out of Israel, other than, just the Gaza Strip and people trying to recover people from, buildings that have been collapsed in northern Gaza, and just a lot of leveled buildings and just debris and whatnot. So none of that is necessarily anything I would feel inclined to show because, number one, it's not, combat or anything. Even though it is interesting to reflect and look at, it's something that you could probably just find on your own because, it's on the pretty much the front page of BBC and, any other big news outlet that covers international news. So, other than that, let's take a look at Myanmar. Okay, so we got some pretty interesting footage out here. So this is the border between China and Myanmar out here, and they are firing tear gas at these individuals, and these are internally displaced people within Myanmar, and of course, this is the border fence out here, so they are apparently tear gassing them because they were taking shelter in a cave nearby, and either they're trying not to let them intrude into their country or perhaps getting too close. As we know, as we've talked about a little bit, especially last time talking about the scam centers that are going on in Myanmar and China's continual displeasure with the junta government and just general displeasure not just with the government and the tolerance of these scam centers, but also the really big blockbuster movie that had come out within China not too long ago, pretty much talking about not just these scam centers, but I believe it was like a big IMAX movie about, again, not just these scam centers, but also the Chinese mafia, which has a foothold within northern Myanmar. But also, apparently, there are rumors that these people will not just scam you, but also will take your organs. So that not just is intriguing and like sensational, but also it really puts it gives a bad name to the people of Myanmar if that is what the Chinese people are seeing about them, especially in such like a big movie like that. So, anyways, it's just interesting to see here how China might get involved because as we've seen in a few other clips of Chinese tanks and armored vehicles going and securing the border between Myanmar. So, it's just interesting to see out here. So here's a clip of the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan out here, and of course it's an area that we haven't really talked about at all for the most part, considering the Taliban takeover happening, a couple of years ago out there. So, it's something that, of course, is something to keep an eye on, considering that, the Taliban seem to have a pretty tough grip on Afghanistan out there, even though a lot of the countries pretty much around the world do not support the Taliban. As we know, I mean, we all know what they're about out there. So, just touching upon that, the NRF seemingly has a decent grip over northern Afghanistan. At least they seem to have a decent amount of popularity. And this is a clip of just some guerrilla fighters out there, so there's nothing really to show considering it's night footage out there. So, I just really mostly wanted to show this just to highlight, that there is still stuff going on out there, that even though, the United States pulled out of this area, not just northern Afghanistan, but also from what we understand, there are of course hostilities going on between the Taliban and also Pakistan, and just a decent amount of just separatist movements kind of going on in various parts of not just Afghanistan but also Pakistan. So anyways, that's all I really wanted to show out of here. Yeah, so that's all I really had for today. If there's anything else you want me to cover, any other conflicts that you've heard about or perhaps are interested in observing or, you want me to take a better look at, just let me know since, I know that there are a lot of conflicts going on throughout the world. It's just really hard to gauge which of these are more significant and which of these are can be updated upon every few videos, because I'd love to talk about Sudan more, but the problem about that is that unlike Ukraine, right, Ukraine gets updated on the daily, and Israel gets updated by the hour if not by the minute, but Sudan information, and also Myanmar as well, information is really hard to come by in terms of it being more consistent. So, just talking about that, I'd really be interested to look at more of these conflicts that are going on throughout the world if there are such resources that are reliable. But, anyways, other than that, of course, leave a comment down below, and thanks for watching, everyone.